you're just not going to outwork me.
Yeah.
You're not going to outshow up me. I'm going to show up every single freaking day.
If you have the courage to dream a big enough dream, whatever your dream is today, it ain't big enough.
Goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3 every single morning. Return on mission is greater than return on investment.
Let's face it, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Yeah. And how many people, you know a ton of people, how many people do you know that are married that are truly happy in their marriage? And hey everybody, it's Red Taylor, and I've got a big favor to ask of you. Help us to try to grow this show. If you would go down and like and subscribe, and also please turn on notifications. That way you're notified as soon as new content drops. Also, please share the show with someone that you know. That would mean the absolute world to me, and you never know, it could mean the world to helping them as well. So thanks a million. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Red Hot Read, and I'm your host, Red Taylor, and I've got a guest with you today that's one of the most dynamic individuals that I have ever met, and I've just met him recently, and man, I believe that we become really good friends. Our guest today is a pastor turned coach turned mentor named Ken Joslin. He is the CEO of Create Conference, which is the #1 faith-based conference for entrepreneurs on the planet. He has masterminds, conferences all over the place, and he's with us today to share all of his expertise on how to go from good to great as a faith-based entrepreneur. Welcome to the Red Hot Read, Ken.
Dude, how you doing, man? This is awesome, man. I'm super stoked about being with you today, man.
I appreciate you being here, man. It's a true blessing.
Yeah.
I'll tell everybody how we met. It's funny because it's something that I think a lot of people that watch this show are drawn to. Is I saw your ad. I saw it pop up on Instagram.
Hey, are you a faith-based entrepreneur in the Atlanta area?
Yes.
You don't want to miss our Create
right there on my phone. Hey, are you a faith-based entrepreneur? I think that I'm a faith-based entrepreneur. I think so. So, anyways, you're like, you don't want to miss this conference, and I was like, true to form. I think I saw it 2 or 3 times before I answered that. So I was like, boom, let me click on there. Yeah. Next thing I know, me and you were talking on the phone, and what was the schedule for like a 15, 20-minute conversation? We talked for an hour and a half, hour and a half. Yeah. So, needless to say, we got a lot in common, and I think it was during that first conversation that you were like, bro, why don't I come be on your podcast?
Yeah, you were talking about having my good friend David Pollack on your show, and I'm like, hey, Davey's a good friend of mine. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Honored to be here, man. Honored to chop it up with you and talk about faith and entrepreneurship, and which is both of our lives.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And, that's something I think that really resonates with everybody because, most of the people that watch my show that tune into this type of content, we're almost all Christians. We're almost all faith-based. We're on some type of spiritual journey. Okay, not everybody understands and really knows where they are in that journey. And as a guy that pastored for 12 and a half years, I'm sure that you can relate to that. Yeah. Let's just go right into it, brother. How do we tap into our spirituality and where we really fit in on a faith-based journey and being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I would say number 1, dude, is it's okay where you're at. Like, you're okay. I have when you come to my conference, and you'll see these when you come in January, I have these giant floor stickers all over the building, all throughout the building. It's my quotes. They're everywhere.
Love it.
Well, my first 2 floor stickers are in the foyer when you come in to register, and it says, God's love for you isn't predicated on your performance. He loves you because he created you as a son or a daughter. And dude, I didn't give my life to Christ till I was 25. Wow. I had never heard the gospel. I didn't. At the church, like Christmas or Easter, or, mom's like, we got to go. And you're like, no, I don't want to go to church. And then I was 25 years old, man. And my next door neighbor, I'd just gotten married. My next door neighbor was a student pastor at a Southern Baptist church in Gainesville. And then one of my buddies I played softball with every weekend, same church, kept inviting me. So I go on August the 8th of 1993. 2 weeks later, I give my life to Christ, and I had a true 2 Corinthians 5:17. If any man's in Christ, he's a new creation experience with Jesus, dude. He changed my life because I understood that first week, and God, you love me. Like, you created me, and you did this for me. Like, it was, Paul writes in Ephesians 1:19 and 20, He says the prayer is that the eyes of your heart would be enlightened or opened, that you would understand the riches of your inheritance in Christ Jesus. And that happened to me, and I understood it. And so for me, when people come into my conference, and you're a faith-based entrepreneur, even if you're not, dude, I just want you to understand that he loves you, not based on what a great dad you are, what a great mom you are, what a great business person you are. I used to tell my team this all the time when I pastored, and I heard another pastor say this, like, you're not going to get to heaven and God high fives you and go, dude, you built a great church. It doesn't have anything to do with that. He loves you because he created you as a son or a daughter.
So good. So, I've got so many questions that I want to ask, especially related to what about the people that didn't have that exact experience? What about, because I think so many Christians are on a walk and they haven't had the experience of, I'm 100% changed. Why am I? Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do I still think this way? Why do I still want to do these things? Why do I still want to cuss out of my mouth? Why
Paul said, listen, the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I don't want to do, I do. I mean, so, dude, he wrote 2/3 of the New Testament.
Right.
You can't have a more, for those of you guys listening to this podcast that are faith-based entrepreneurs, you can't have a more transformative experience with God than Paul had in the book of Acts. I mean, it's like, that's the experience. And he still said, dude, the things I don't want to do, I do. The things I do want to do, I don't do. Listen, we live in flesh and bone bodies, and it's going to be a tension and a struggle that you and I deal with our entire lives.
Constant.
Dude, the grace and the mercy part of that, when you understand, it's like people in my life who know me, bro, who really know me are like, how'd you forgive that guy? How do you forgive that person? I don't understand how you I'm like, because at 25 years old, on August 22nd, 1993, at Chestnut Mountain Baptist Church, I know what I got forgiven of. And it was so overwhelming to me, bro. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
I know how I felt. I know the transformation that took place in my life that day.
Right.
And then the growth for the last 30 years. But it's like, okay, God, you forgave me. So I don't, according to your word, I have to forgive other people.
Yep.
And it's easy when you understand what you've been forgiven of, it's easy to forgive other people.
Man, I can relate to that so much. My mother was murdered. I don't know. We didn't talk about that. So, it's, I don't want to go into the story to today's, definitely all about you, but, just along that line, I was 24 years old. A man pulled out a gun and shot my mother, and it was supposedly accidental. Well, as a very angry and, vengeful young man, I went to take revenge on him. And as God would have it, he wasn't there. Okay. And I left and I never went back. And I found myself in a class. I was still in college. I was in a classroom one night, and I had a moment, man. It was almost like I was out of body experience. Everybody was in there. The teacher was up teaching the class, and all these people around. It's almost like I heard Charlie Brown speaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking to myself was, I was looking around here, I was like, man, nobody knows. Nobody knows what I'm going through. None of these people know, and they don't understand, okay? So I can either let it kill me, or I can give it away, and I can roll. And I'm telling you right now, that one decision, the forgiveness of that man, has been the opening of the ways of goodness in my life. And there's only one way to be able to do that, and that is through the grace of God.
Yeah.
So, to this day, I don't hold grudges. To this day, I don't, whoever, if you screw me over, hey, bro, you're probably in a bad place. Right. Okay. Right. I'm going to pray for you. All right. Now, I don't like it. Yeah. But I'm probably going to, and I'll remember it, but I ain't going to hold it against you. Yeah. I don't want to get you back.
That's right. Because that affects me.
Yeah.
When I don't forgive, it doesn't affect the other person. It only affects me and how God desires to move in my life and at the level he wants to move in my life.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So you have 5 core principles that you teach constantly. Let's go into this because you have a podcast as well as The Leader Grows. I want everybody to tune in to Ken's podcast as The Leader Grows. Tell us about your 5 core principles and what they mean.
Yeah, so our core 5 that we teach in everything that we do, from the conference to our mastermind to my online group, which is we call the Collective. It's faith, health, relationships, business, and finances. And people are always like, okay, can you tell me the order and why they're there? Because I believe faith, your health, your physical health and emotional health, and your relationships are the foundation we build everything else on. Like really the faith is the first thing that we build on. And for me, on this health journey I've been on for the past 4.5 to 5 years, I've dropped almost 100 pounds with the help of some very amazing friends and who have just kind of guided me along the way. Faith, health, and relationships are the foundation. If those things are in alignment and we have our faith, we're striving to know Jesus and to become more like him every day. In our health journey, and I don't care where you're at in the journey, because I'm down close to 100 pounds now. Even 2 years ago when I was only down 50 or 45, I was still doing well because I was on the journey.
Either way, that's huge. I mean, let's go ahead and say something about that, man. That's huge, okay? Because that ain't easy. That I'm telling you, that.
Oh no, I like to eat, dude. I tell people, I used to, when I pastored, I'd say I have the same spiritual gifts as Jesus. I like to eat and I like to hang out. That's my thing. I love to cook. I love to grill. I've got a Traeger and a green egg.
Yeah.
So I love to grill. I love to cook out. I love to eat. It is my. It replenishes me when I get to host and be around people, which probably the pastor side of me. So,
So, I love it because so many people right now, if you look out over half of America, okay, they're gaining between 5 and 10 pounds every 5 years. They walk less than 5,000 steps a day. They medicate themselves constantly to extend their life to deal with lifestyle diseases, okay? They can't walk up a flight of steps without being winded. They can't squat their body weight. They can't deadlift their body weight. And so being overweight, obese, and out of shape is a pandemic of mass proportions. So I want to dial in on that because it's important, brother. I'm on a fitness journey. Okay, I am a fat guy at heart. I tell everybody. Okay, my wife will fix something at home or whatever, and I'm like, somebody won't like it or leave it on the platter. I'm like, give me that. I'm a fat kid at heart. I'm a fat guy. I eat stuff. I love to eat, and so. People are like, how can you eat that? It's not even good. I'm a fat kid. I eat stuff that I don't necessarily love.
That's what I tell them, man. There's a fat kid on the inside of me, man.
That's it.
You put a chocolate chip cookie in front of me or a burger, I'm on it.
I ain't got a chance. But with that being said, I've committed myself to being, living. I turned 52 years old yesterday, and I tell everybody my next 52 years is going to be my healthiest 52 years. So, and there ain't nothing in my mind and in my heart and in my soul that can tell me any different. Okay, so how did you go about changing your state, changing your physiology, changing your set of beliefs to lose 100 plus pounds in a matter of, what'd you say, 5 years?
It's been about 4.5 years.
4 years,
4.5 years.
Yeah.
I started my health journey and I started GSD almost at the same time. So my health journey, I umpired college baseball and high school baseball for a long time. And I was at the SEC ACC umpire camp in New Orleans, at University of New Orleans, trying to get a job in Division I baseball. Had a great camp. My team just dropped a video on this week on my Instagram page.
Nice.
One of the clinicians at the end said, dude, you do a great job. Like, you have great rapport with the players, great communication skills, and you have a moxie to handle the game, which is it's instinct. Like, you can't teach what you have, but dude, you got to lose weight. He said, we were surprised, the clinicians, we were surprised you moved as well as you did.
Dang.
And I was like, okay. And I knew it. Like, I didn't, it's like I didn't know. I knew. Well, I went home that weekend. I said, I'm going to step on the scale. I stepped on the scale. It was 308 pounds. I took a picture of the scale. I took a before picture of myself. And I said, I'm going to lose, actually it was 306. I said, I'm going to lose 66 pounds. And so I put that was one of my goals I write down twice a day. And as soon as I did it, dude, I put it on social media. Here's a picture of my scale. Here's my before picture.
Serious.
I'm going to lose 60. Because now, bro, there ain't no backing out now.
You're accountable.
There's like, man, I've done put this out in front of thousands of people. Yeah. I've got to do this. And so I just started the journey. And in the journey, in starting that health journey and in the journey of starting GSD.
Hold on, what's GSD?
So Growth Stack Drive. So what I do, my conference and my mastermind, everything falls under that umbrella. In starting both of those, I created a concept called incremental, not monumental.
Before we get back to the show, if you actually want to see what my real life looks like, the people, the businesses, my family, my dogs, go follow me on Instagram at Real Red Taylor and at Red Taylor Insurance. We're going to go behind the scenes, show you real time, day to day, the real deal 411 on how I pull it all together and make it all work. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Small, daily, disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results.
Always.
Success can't escape you when you do the right things every single day. Yes. And my people in our community, I say it everywhere I go because people are like, dude, how have you done what you've done in 44.5 years? We did $1 million in revenue my third year.
Let's go.
It's like no, everybody looks and goes, how do you do that? Because I show up every day.
Yeah.
Every single freaking day I show up, whether I feel like it or not. Dude, we're on a call, on a mentorship call with Grant Cardone. It was Grant's first mentorship group he ever did. It was October of 2019 is when he started it, November of 2019. We're probably a year into that, maybe. So it's sometime in 2020. And Grant, there's 1,200 of us on this mentorship call with Grant. And he goes, I'm going to give you guys homework. He goes, I want you to ask 5 people to describe you in 1 sentence or less this week. That's your homework. So, I can be a little bit of a smart ass. So I text Grant and Jared and I'm like, hey, I got a question. Grant goes, what you got, preacher? So he pulled me up and I'm not, it's me. It's
You're right there. You're in the chat and he pulls you up in front of the whole
he pulls
group.
me up on video in this big gigantic Zoom room. He goes, what you got, preacher? I said, hey, G, this dude named Grant Cardone gave me homework this week. And since you and Miss Elena are sitting there side by side, would you be my first 2 people who would describe me in 1 sentence? And Grant just starts laughing. He's like, okay, you got me. And he just thinks, dude, and he thinks for a couple seconds and he looks up at the screen and he goes, you always show up. He goes, every time I get on social media, I see Ken Joslin. Every time I do an event, Ken Joslin's sitting in the front row. Every time I look up, Ken Joslin's doing an event. Ken Joslin's publishing a book. Like, dude, you show up. Like, you show up every single day. I take that back all the way to December the 9th of 2019. Out of that original 1,000+ people in the mentorship group, Grant had 12 of us come down to Miami to 10X headquarters. And Sherry Ennis, who used to run the mentorship group for Grant, she called me on my cell phone one day. She goes, hey, I just want to let you know, Grant's asked for 12 of you guys to come. You were the only one he asked for by name. He wants you here. And I'm like, okay. So I went down. I got to speak in front of his whole team. I shared my story in front of 100, at that time, probably 170 to 180.
His internal employees?
His team, his sales team, everybody on the team. I did their sales meeting. I was the guy that spoke for 5 or 10 minutes during his sales meeting. And then, then later that day, he had the 12 of us. We're sitting around these horseshoe kind of set up tables. There's 12 of us around these tables. I also got to share my story with his senior leadership team. And out of those 12 people that were there that day, I can tell you, bro, where everybody was sitting, what their name is, and what they do.
That's impactful, man.
Listen, nobody out of those 12 has done what I've done in the past 4.5, 5 years. Nobody. And the reason why is there's one guy, he lives in the Bay Area, super good dude. I love him to death. You'll see him on social media, and then he'll disappear for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, boom, he pops, hey, I'm doing this webinar on this, or I'm doing this masterclass, or I'm publishing this. And then he'll go away. You don't see him for 3 months or 6 months. Or it's like, dude, where'd you go? Like, I forgot about you. Yeah. Like, and you're a friend.
Yeah.
And I see that in every one of those people. That's when I was like, wow, this is incremental, not monumental. Small daily disciplined decisions over time always equal monumental results. Success can't escape you when you do the right things every day. Bro, that's real.
It is.
Like, it really.
It is.
Because I'm not the most talented guy. I was never the best looking guy, the most athletic. I was never all those things. You're just not going to outwork me.
Yeah.
You're not going to show up me. I'm going to show up every single freaking day, even when it sucks. Even when you're like, I don't want to get out of bed, which I don't. I may have, listen, when I created my GSD planner, I should have brought you one. I'm going to send you one. I was meant to grab one day before I left. When I did my GSD planner on the bottom right-hand corner, you have a whole daily routine. Goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3 every single morning.
Okay.
I write my goals down twice a day. I learned that from Grant.
Yeah.
Let's say I do it 300 times a year.
Yeah.
And Grant did this in the room, the first boot camp I ever went to. He goes, how many of you guys write your goals down twice a day? Nobody. Right? How many of you guys write them down once a year? You know, almost every hand in the room goes up. He goes, keep your hand up. Now, how many of you do it once a month? 90% of the hands go down. How many of you guys do it once a week? Like there's 3 people out of 100, 600, 700 that have their hand raised. And he goes, now let me ask you a question. If I write my goals down 300 times a year, 300 days a year, twice a day, that's 600 times. I'm going to kill you if you're in the same business I'm in. I'm going to do, because I know exactly every single day, I know exactly what I'm going after. So goals, gratitude, affirmations, top 3. Top 3 are what are the 3 things I need to do today? What are the 3 biggest rocks I need to move that are going to move the needle in my business the most? Not the 8,000 things.
Right.
What are 3?
Yeah.
3 things. Second half of the day, where did I win? You have a box. It says wins, 1% better. How do I improve? I'm going to look back throughout the day and go, and usually for me, dude, it's mindset. It's mindset 95% of the time. It's believing God for something or looking at a number going, how am I going to pull that off? And God's like, man, dude, you've been doing this why
you keep questioning me, man?
It's like, So it's usually mindset. So wins, mindset, goals a second time. And then on the bottom red, I put a scoreboard. It's 1 through 10 with blocks. And then it's every single day, I finish my second half of my day in my journal and I circle, how did I live today? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. I'm almost 95% between an 8 and a 9.
Yeah.
And I've had about 6 10s in the last 5 years. And they've all been around my Create conference or a mastermind that I've done. Or 3 weeks ago, I'm in Charleston with, dude, it's always people. I'm with 9 of my guys in Charleston at my good friend Eric Weir's 2,000-acre estate in Guatemala Island in Charleston.
Love it.
And we're sitting around I don't smoke cigars, but all the other guys do. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
They're all smoking cigars, and we're just drinking bourbon and just talking about Jesus, talking about business. And the wealth in that circle is insane.
Yeah.
And they're the most authentic, transparent, amazing human beings on the planet. And so I gave myself a 10. So back to that, every single day I rate, how did I live today? And when you do that and you keep score, you been to a T-ball game?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's been to a T-ball game.
Yeah.
There's like 80 kids on the field, bro. 80 kids. Johnny's in
chaos,
outfield. Dude, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Grandparents, aunts, uncles, sisters, energy, yelling. Johnny hits the ball and runs towards third base. Coach has got to grab him and point him towards first. And Red's down there going, right here, run right.
Chaos.
It's chaos, bro. And at the end of the hour, you go home and you don't know who won.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you don't keep score.
Nobody's keeping score.
And here's the deal. That is very similar to a lot of our businesses.
Oh, yeah.
There's energy.
Dude, I'm sitting here right now
There's
clicking this crap off in my brain right now. I'm like,
there's all the stuff.
I'm like, I've been doing this almost 25 years, and I've been blessed with a pretty good level of success myself, but I don't write down my goals, okay? I've never been really goal-oriented. I don't write them down, much less twice a day. I'm not keeping score, but I find myself constantly throughout the day struggling and frustrated with small and mundane tasks that I just told my son, who works here now with a couple of my guys, this is the kind of shit, okay, that keeps me from doing what I need to do to help this company grow. Why can't somebody do this? This is the difference between transactional leadership and transformational leadership. I need y'all to come in here and tell me this is what we got to do, okay? So, that's the real struggle that so many people in our positions that are running these businesses face all the time. Because I talk to folks just like us, and they're like, dude, I can relate. I feel that. Go back to what you said about the discipline, man, because I think that's so important. And how often we people, humans, okay, men, everybody, will allow our feelings, okay, how we're feeling this day to talk us out of what we know that we need to do, okay, what we know that we need to get done. And when we allow that to happen, okay, not only does it take away, it pulls us further away from being successful and reaching our goals, that it also takes our worth away. It takes our self-image away. It takes our confidence away because we made the promise to ourselves.
Well, those things go hand in hand. So I think the biggest thing is people don't dream big enough. Like we don't dream big enough because we're afraid that we can't do it.
Yeah.
Like literally, I think the biggest thing for people, Red, is they either don't believe they can do it. They don't believe they have what it takes, which everybody struggles with. They call it imposter syndrome. Yep. Dude, I remember the first conference I did 4 years ago in Atlanta with John Maxwell. Chad, his right-hand guy, said $85,000. I said, okay, send me the contract. I signed the contract, sent it back. I buzzed Nate, my best friend who worked for John for 9 years, 10 years. I buzzed Nate. I said, Chad said to tell you, hey. He goes, how much? I said, what do you mean? He goes, how much does John want to come?
He knows.
I said, $85,000. And he goes, I said, I already sent him the contract. He goes, how you going to pay for it? I said, I have no idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea how I'm going to pay for it. But we did.
Yeah.
But we did. But all the way up leading to that conference in January, John opened up, John and David Pollock. So Davey was there that morning because he couldn't come the night before because his kids had championship basketball games from Park and Rec in Athens. And
priorities.
I know, right? And so Davey's like, dude, I can't come. It's my fundraiser, but I can't come for the Pollock Family Foundation. I said, listen, John's speaking in the morning. I'm going to bring you up for about 20 minutes at the end of John's talk, and John and I will kind of interview you, which is great because that way John got to connect.
You're talking about John Maxwell.
Yeah, John.
Listen, guys, this guy's Rolodex is an absolute Rolex, by the way. I don't know if y'all hadn't figured it out yet, man.
Good.
This guy, Ken Joslin's got some connections, man. So go ahead.
Well, so anyway, we bring Davey in. Well, John gets done, and they leave the stage, and so it's my turn to talk him out. And I just said, hey, guys, I just want to pull the curtain back for you. I said, you see the band and the lights, and dude, we do it right, bro. It's done so good and so on time, and there's transitions are seamless. John's up there just honoring me in front of all these hundreds of people that are there. Davey's there. I've got Coach Hugh Jackson, who's a good friend, is there. And I get up and go, hey, I just want to pull the curtain back for you. You see, this is sexy. Like, this looks so good.
Oh, yeah.
I said, but you didn't see 2 weeks ago when I woke up, and I'm looking at 2:30 in the morning at my bank account going, I got $17,000 left. Do I have enough money to even pull this event off? Do I have what it takes to pull this off?
Yeah.
How am I going to make this happen? And people are looking at me like, what are you like, out of all the things you're going to talk about at your first big conference, that's what you're going to talk about?
It's real.
And I went, and I said, you better believe that's what I'm going to talk about.
Dang right.
Because we look at, especially in the Instagram world, Red, it's like, man, we see the Lambo and the rented jet and the this and the that. Dude, there is so much bullshit on social media.
Dude, preach.
And I wanted to come through and go, hey, you can do it, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
I was just on somebody's podcast this past week, and they were like, everybody wants to do a live event. I'm like, no, you don't. You have no idea.
Hey, everybody, I wanted to invite you to, if at any time you wanted to shop your health or life insurance rates, to reach out to us through the description section below where it says redtailorinsurance.com. Click that link. My team of experts will go to work for you for free, so you have nothing to lose. We're going to search the market where we have hundreds and hundreds of different companies, different plans, to see if we can help. If we can't, we're going to advise you to stay right where you are, and if things ever change, to reach back out to us at that time, and we'll go to work then. Okay, so thanks a million and enjoy the show.
I tried to pull 2 off in 1 year because 2 of my really good friends were like, oh my God, this was awesome. We need to do this twice a year. So I went to do one in Dallas. I had Erwin McManus there, Brendan Burchard there.
Come on.
I lost $170,000.
Oof.
I mean, I got hammered, dude. I got hammered, and I'm like, no, you don't.
Oh,
I know, right?
I'm limping right now.
Yeah. But those are the war stories.
Yeah.
Like nobody's. I'm like, let me tell you how hard this is.
Yeah.
And you can do it, but I want you to understand. Jesus said, count the cost. Like, listen, you want to do this, you can do it. But there's going to be days, dude, where you're like, holy cow, I don't have what it takes to pull this off. And you know what happens? Usually when that happens, God will send somebody in your life to encourage you. He'll send somebody in your life to finance you if that's what you need. But he always sends the right relationships in your life to help fulfill the call and the dream that he's put in your heart.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, going back to that, what you said about social media, it's so difficult. I told the guys yesterday, I was like, man, I hate this crap. I hate it. I'm 52 years old. Yeah. I'm busting my butt trying to figure out how to do this. Why? It ain't like I gotta do it, but I'm called to do it. Okay, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to be in front of this microphone, in front of these cameras, telling my story, having people like you to get out there to impact other people, because you can do it. You, just like you said, if you have the courage. And courage, Thomas Jefferson said, courage is the principle by which all others stand. If you have the courage to dream a big enough dream, whatever your dream is today, it ain't big enough, okay? Get bigger with it. Put a jet airplane on that thing, okay? Put a mansion on the top of a mountain overlooking the ocean on that thing, okay? Yeah. And you own the whole island, all right? And go and have the courage to dream that dream. Yeah. All right, and then put it all together. I want you to go back and tell me a little bit about how all this started, because it sounds like the timeline that you're speaking on is about the last 4 to 5 years. You started this thing. Why did you go from Pastor Ken to coach, mentor, conference, CEO Ken?
Yeah. So found out in 2018, I was pastoring, found out my daughter had epilepsy. So my daughter had a seizure her first day of her senior year of high school. We had her tested. They said, listen, 75% of kids that have seizures never have another one. And so we're like, okay. So she can't drive for 6 months. February of the next year, her senior year of high school, we were in Flowery Branch. Senior year of high school, she gets to drive again. She's fine. We move her to Birmingham, to Highlands College, which is probably the premier leadership academy type for kids that want to do ministry. Okay. So all 3 of my oldest daughters went to Highlands College, and my 25-year-old, this one, Sarah Beth, is actually on staff there now. And so we sent her to Highlands College. The next February, a year after she can drive, and a year and a half after her first seizure, I get a call one Sunday morning. I'm pastoring in church. It's about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning Eastern time, and it's my oldest daughter. She goes, hey, Sarah Beth had an accident this morning. She's fine, but she fell asleep driving. And I'm like, it's raining outside. It's like 30 degrees. Like, she's a mile away from her apartment. Like, how did she fall asleep that quick? Yeah. Like, that doesn't make sense. And so later that afternoon, we had some kids that called us, and they were like, hey, Pastor Ken, we saw Sarah Beth when she had her accident, and we knocked on the window. We flashed our flashlights from our phones in there. She had her eyes open, but she wasn't there. And I knew immediately that she had had a seizure. Yeah. So we brought her home, got her tested, found out she had juvenile epilepsy. And so we brought her home. She finished the semester. We brought her home for a semester so we could sell the house and move to Birmingham, because we wanted her 2 things. We wanted her at Highlands College. Okay. Second thing is UAB has one of the top epilepsy centers in America. And so we wanted her treated there, because here in Atlanta, we couldn't get the treatment that we wanted for that. When I took her there and met with the doctors, they were great. They were like, hey, here's where she's at. Here's where she's at on the spectrum. Like, she's very low with medicine. We can probably have her seizure free in the next 4 to 5, 6 months, which was right on the money. And she's been seizure free now for over 5 years. Yeah. So when I did that, I stepped out of ministry and I went back into real estate, because that's what I knew to make money. Okay. And then that was in 2018. And then 15, 16 months later, I run into a little 5'5" stick of dynamite named Grant Cardone. And that kind of launched everything. And I'm like, I'm going to build my own thing.
So the meeting with Grant Cardone is really what changed the trajectory of your life and brought you to where you are today with the CEO of Crate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, that's what's so interesting to me about that is, I've never been to a conference. I've never been to leadership. I've never been to I've never done any.
Oh, you're going to flip in January, bro. You're going to have a blast.
I've been really one of the top guys in the country in insurance sales for a long time. I've never been to an insurance seminar. I mean, I'm telling you, I've never been done. And I'm going to your Create here in Atlanta in January, which I'd recommend anybody to go to. My wife and I are both going to go. And I'm really, really looking forward to it, because I feel like it's something that God's placed on my heart for some time now. What do you see somebody like me being able to gain from being in these rooms, in these events, and around these types of people?
Yeah, the bottom right-hand corner of my planner, there's one of my quotes. And you'll see it. It'll be one of the floor stickers somewhere throughout the building at Create. But the quote is, get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. And I'm telling you, dude, I learned that from Grant. And I mean, my new book that's coming out in the next couple of months is called Proximity as a Cheat Code. So anytime you use a key fob or a key card, there's a 21-bit proxy code It's 21 frequencies from that key fob or that key card to match up with a card reader.
Okay.
And when those frequencies match, that door opens. So what I did was I went through and I went, what are the 21 frequencies or attributes you need to have as a human being to build relationships with the people that you need in order for the door to be unlocked for the next level of your life?
Okay.
Bro, every area, faith, health, relationship, business, and finances, every area in my life that I've grown and went to the next level, it's always been through a relationship. Every single time. Whether it be, in my book, I go all the way back to my 5th grade year. Like my teacher, Miss Lambert, is my favorite teacher of my entire life. She's my favorite. She lives in between Atlanta and Birmingham off of 20 somewhere. And I sent her a message and I said, hey, I just want you to, every year on her birthday, I write her about a 2-paragraph thing on her Facebook page. Brother, I just go, hey, you made a difference in this, because she follows me on social. She sees all the stuff I'm doing. And she's like, I'm so proud of you. I remember you when you were a little boy and all the stuff and I'm like, I told her, so Miss Lambert, I broke my leg in the 5th grade, my femur, playing football. I was in traction for 6 weeks in the hospital in a bed. 6 weeks, gained 20, 25 pounds, came back fat and chunky in the 5th grade. Got made fun of because my parents had just gotten divorced. Mom moved us from Michigan to Atlanta. So many things going on in my life. And dude, 10, 11 years old, I needed somebody to believe in me, and Miss Lambert believed in me.
Come on.
And so I sent her the first chapter of the book. And I said, hey, I just want to know, this is my new book coming out, and I just wanted to honor you. And I posted it on her Facebook page. Bro, I can't even, if I start going through what she wrote back to me, I'll lose it.
You're going to break down.
Bro, she just wrote back this unbelievable thing. But the whole premise of the book is everything that I've done from that to Sergeant Parker, who was my NCOIC when I was in the Air Force. He took me under my wing. He taught me how to tie a tie. He taught me about excellence. From there to refereeing high school and women's college basketball for 20 some odd years, stepping on the floor. The very first time I ever stepped on a court to referee high school basketball was at a camp in the summer. My clinician is a woman named Sally Bell, the most decorated women's official in the history of the game. She worked 15 Final Fours and national championship games. She was the first person chosen to referee in the WNBA and help put the WNBA it's my first time I ever stepped on the floor, and she's my clinician.
That's crazy.
And she spent 3 days. How do you not become one of the best officials? Dude, I was working varsity games in Gainesville my 2nd year of officiating. Nobody ever done that. Well, I did it because of the relationship.
Yeah.
Same thing with baseball. Marvin Hudson was my first clinician at a high school camp. Marvin's been in the big leagues now for 25 or 26 years. He's been a crew chief for the last 3 or 4, worked the plate when the Cubs beat the Indians in the World Series.
Wow.
I'm learning from these guys. And so my life has just been marked with these unbelievable relationships. So how do you open the door to build these kind of relationships? You said, I loved it. You said my Rolodex is a Rolex. Ooh, I've never heard that before. That's good. I will steal that. I'll give you credit for it the first couple of times I use it.
My work here's done. My work here's done. Let's go.
But how do you do that? It's people ask me, how do you build relationships like that? Because I live by a motto of great leaders want something for people, not from people. And when you live a life, bro, where you authentically want something for people and you don't expect anything in return, number one, it's liberating and freeing for you because I don't want something from you. But dude, I'm going to deliver so much value in your life. You're like, I got to do what this guy's doing. Like I got to be in the rooms this guy's in, which then in turn, Zig Ziglar, if you help enough people get what they want, eventually you're going to get what you want.
Yeah. I think so many people in life shelter themselves and shield themselves from outside, from the public, from these relationships because they're so dialed into whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. And really and truly, they don't even know what they're trying to accomplish. Right. I mean, let's be honest. The vast majority of people out there is in survival mode, man.
Right.
And so even getting to this point where they feel like they have an opportunity to live an impactful life, to have transformational relationships with other people, they find it so difficult to get themselves there just from a physiological standpoint. So in relationships, going back to this, because you and I have something in common, both of us have been through a divorce, okay? Our parents were divorced, and we both had a failed marriage as well. And I think that's another topic that a lot of people struggle with, okay? My wife and I, we are now, thankfully we're happily married, and we have a blended family, our children. How have you transitioned into that role from, being, married and going through divorce and parenting and all that? What would you tell anybody listening on how to deal with all the struggles and the crap that come along with that, man? Because it's a big luggage trunk load full of bull crap that you got to deal with it if you want to do it right.
Yeah. I would say this, like, if you're a faith-based entrepreneur and you really do have a passion to become the best version of yourselves, and I'll just break it down into our core 5 area that we've been talking about. If you really have a passion to do that, you'll own your stuff. Like, I was married for 27 years. I've been divorced for over 3 and out of the house for almost 5. And just even this morning, having a conversation with Nate, my best friend, who works on my team and worked for John Maxwell for several years. I met him through John 25 years ago. Even today, he was asking me, how are the girls? Because I have 28, 25, 21, and 16. My 25 and 16-year-old were over last weekend for a concert. So they love, hey, Dad, will you make us this for dinner? And then we're going to go to the concert. And then will you make us this for breakfast? I'm like, I got you. Yep. And let me come to my free hotel room.
Yes.
But the thing is like, he was asking me, how's Emma doing, my youngest? And I said, dude, she's doing better than she's ever done since I left. And so I think part of that, Red, is you have to, if you really want to live a life of fulfillment, you have to look in the mirror and go, where did I miss it? What could I have done better? And I'll give you one example through the whole process. And I talk a lot about unresolved trauma because at 12 years old, I was from my 6th grade year to my senior year of high school. We were when I divorced in 2nd grade, Mom moved us to the Atlanta area. From my 6th grade year to my senior year in high school, I moved back and forth to my dad's 6 different times. I went to 12 schools in 12 years and 6 different high schools. I've been everywhere.
It's tough.
Which has helped me become the man that I am. Right. Because I don't meet strangers.
Yeah.
You can't afford to meet strangers when you're that way and you're going to 12 schools in 12 years. But I also didn't understand until about 3 years ago, my divorce was final. Literally, divorce was final 1 week. The next week, I'm meeting with a new therapist. Dude, I've been in ministry forever. Yeah. I've been going to therapy and counselors. Yeah. I mean, I've done it with people. And I walk in, my therapist asked me, she goes, why'd you move so many times? I said, Maxine, I didn't have a choice. Anytime I got in trouble, my mom would tell me to go pack a bag. And I had 24 to 48 hours, and I was on a bus, a plane, or my dad was on the way to pick me up. And then she looked at me and asked me this question, Red. She said, how do you think that's affected your relationship with the women in your life who are supposed to love and protect you? And I lost it because I realized, I'm like, holy cow, I've been living with this trauma for 40 years. I was angry with God for about 2 months. I was pissed, dude.
Huge, yeah.
I'm like, how in the world have I done ministry and pastored and counseling sessions and I had no idea. 3 weeks before that, I was with a woman in San Francisco. She picked me up at the airport in San Francisco. She lives in wine country in Santa Rosa that I loved very, very much. And she picked me up at the airport. We didn't even make it across the bridge headed north. We had an argument. I made her pull the car over. I got my suitcase out and I left.
Dang.
And so here was a 52-year-old man living out the trauma of a 12-year-old boy, except now you weren't going to tell me to leave. I was going to leave before you told me.
Sure.
And I had no idea. So through the whole process of that, and that aha moment for me being, holy cow. One of the things, I'm reading a phenomenal book called The Masculine in Relationship by G.S. Youngblood. He's been on my podcast. He's got a whole chapter in there where he talks about healthy masculine hold space is the term he uses. And a lot of therapists use it.
Healthy masculine.
Will hold space for their partners. Okay. Because God's created women emotional creatures.
Yes.
Bro, they can go 0 to 100 just like that.
Real quick.
Your job as a man is, and when you're healthy, is to hold space. hey, babe, I hear you. I love you, and I'm here for you. Do you need me to listen, or are you looking for feedback?
So good.
And if she just says listen, you just listen to hold space. Bro, I read that 3 years ago, December, January of 3 years ago. And I was in my Audible, and I take notes in my Audible app. And I had these notes of like, holy cow, I didn't even. And this is what he says. He said, if you can't hold space and you feel the need to defend or explain, he goes, you've got unresolved trauma. And I was like, holy cow.
What?
Yeah.
If you feel the need to defend yourself
or explain.
Hey,
babe,
yourself,
that's not right, because let me tell you why.
Let me tell you what I meant. This is what I was trying to.
Just hold space.
Okay, that's everybody. All of us.
Oh, yeah.
Every single person. Yeah. So that is so good, because we're all dealing with unresolved shit is the deal. That's what it is.
Yes, we are.
And if you'll just be real with it, and you'll be honest with it, and as a father to your children, that, you screwed it up.
Yeah.
I screwed it up. Yeah. Okay. For whatever reason, I don't give a dang.
Yeah.
Then we just got to learn how to hold the space and say, hey, listen, I hear you. Do you want me to listen to you, or do you need me to,
want some feedback
to give you feedback?
90% of the time, they just want you to listen, bro.
Shut up.
Just listen.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. I'm holding space for you. Even if she gets elevated to the point to where you're like, well, this isn't healthy. You can, hey, babe, I love you, but the tone of voice and the way you're coming at me, I'd love to have a conversation, but it needs to be done within the boundaries that we've talked about on how conversations, because they can get elevated. And so what I discovered in that process was the one thing I wanted from my wife more than anything else was an apology. 27 years, I can tell you one time that she apologized to me. And looking back on that, and I was teaching my collective on a Wednesday night on my Zoom coaching call, 30, 40 entrepreneurs. And I'm like, when your partner gets elevated, the moment you as a man get elevated, because you know what happens, you get elevated, she gets elevated, you got a freaking train wreck in about 10 minutes.
Out of control.
Get a divorce, I'm moving out. It's a train wreck.
Yeah.
The moment as a man, you do not hold space and you get elevated at her level or above, you've robbed from her the very thing that most men desire from their partners or their wives, and that's an apology. Hey, babe, I'm so sorry that I acted this way. Bro, the first Create conference in 2022, in January 2022, John Maxwell's on my stage, and God dropped this in my heart. I screenshotted my notes from that chapter and sent an email to the girl's mom. And I said, hey, I didn't know how to do this when we were married. I'm really sorry that I didn't know how to hold space for you. Wow. So you talk about, like, how do you do that? How do you become the best version? How do you walk through hard times like a 27-year marriage ending? How do you walk through your girl sitting you down and going, hey, Dad, we want to have a little intervention. You said you were going to do this, you didn't do it. You said you were going to do this, you didn't do it. And I'm like, ooh. I just took it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then even when we got done, they were like, okay, Dad, we didn't think you were going to take that as well as you did. But I had to. Like, what am I going to do?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So good, because I think that, like I said, I think so many people out there are struggling with these issues, man. I mean, let's face it, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Yeah. And how many people, a ton of people, how many people do you know that are married that are truly happy in their marriage? And so they're dealing with all these things. And then it just all goes down to the children. So what it's important to me, and I'm passionate about it because I see it so much, to bring light to this, okay, that you can make that change if you'll learn, just like Ken said, to hold space, okay? Mm-hmm. Keep yourself here. Allow your spouse to be heard. Allow your adult children, allow your teenage children to be heard, and you be the masculine man in the relationship that you were created to be, and watch how things transform. And then we could talk an awful lot on that, but I wanted to go back to a couple of different things that we haven't really touched on. Let's talk about the business and finance side of this, because we are in the entrepreneurial space. So much of my audience is entrepreneurial. tell us about the business and the finance side of going from Pastor Ken to coach and to mentor, and let's be honest, listen, if you have influence, which you do, you have a large sphere of influence, you're still pastoring, brother, because what's number one at the top of everything? It's faith, and it's the relationship with Jesus, and it's the promotion of that relationship with Jesus, and that's the guiding principle that I get from you that directs your relationships and your communication with each other. So, in all honesty, you're still pastoring, brother. Yeah. Okay. But discuss with us today the business and the finance side of this whole thing. How did you put it together? What did you see? What are your goals?
So in between, I did youth ministry. I built one of the largest youth ministries in the country back from like 96 to 2001. Then in the mortgage business. So the mortgage business worked for my best friend for about 2.5 years, then got my own broker's license. And then I was one of the top brokers in the state of Georgia for about 4 years in a row before the housing market crashed. Okay. So I knew how to do business. I'd built a really, really good business. And then I went back into ministry. And then from ministry in 2018, 17, 18, back into real estate again. I flipped a couple dozen houses. Yeah. I've had rental. I've had all this stuff, right? So I knew how to do business. What I saw was people who poured everything into their business, everything into building and accumulating stuff and wealth, but they neglected faith, health, and relationships. And we've all seen them crash and burn. And when it's ugly when it happens. It is. And so for me, I say holistically, it's not even the right word. One of the chapters in my first book I did 2 or 3 years ago is called Return on Mission is Greater than Return on Investment. Okay. Because the mission that God has you on really is the number one thing. Yes. Even when the first time I ever met Grant Cardone, private hallway, I was inquiring about becoming a licensee. It cost me $25,000. I spent $31,000 with Grant in like a month. like bam. Like I didn't know the dude from out of his house cat. And literally the first week of October, last week of September, I see him on an Instagram ad, and I clicked it and I liked it and I followed him, and then dude's just bam, but they're knocking at your door at 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, it's Grant Cardone's office. No, they do not.
Listen what he's telling you now. He said he spent $31,000 in a month. Didn't even know this guy. Didn't even know where it was going. But look where he is now. Would you be here today had you not done that?
Not even close.
Not even close.
There's no way. But Grant walked up to me that morning. You better believe I did. Grant walked up to me, and this is why when I talk to people, even like you, like, dude, this is where you need to be. Like, my mastermind guys that are in they're 40 to 50K a year to be in the circles that we put them in. Dude, we were in Charleston 3 weeks ago. There was $4 million got raised in that circle of 9 guys. $4 million.
Come on.
Hey, yeah, we're doing a Top Golf in Hamburg, Germany. I got $1 million for that. I got $2 million for that. I got $1 million. I'm just sitting there in a circle going, what is going on here?
How did I get here?
You know, like, what in the world? But dude, my superpower is curating amazing rooms.
It is.
It is curating. So when I'm sitting there and I go, hey, listen, this event's going to cost you $5K or $7,500 or $10K or $40K for the year. I got Josh Porter he's got 2 Optimize You franchises. He's a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant. He's got 2 Optimize You franchises in Chattanooga and Cleveland, Tennessee. He's about to open 2 more in Knoxville, and he's about to open one here in Roswell in the next 2 months. He literally sent me a text 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he goes, dude, my average, I think he was at $248,000 a month revenue. He goes, when I invested $50K to be in your mastermind in March, I was at $248. Here we are 7 or 8 months later, and he was at like $338, $336, $92,000 a month.
A month.
More.
Crushing it. You sent me that text.
Did I?
That's true story.
And he was like, dude, like, this is cute, partly because of you putting me in the rooms where I can go, I can believe you for that.
Yes.
Because the first question Grant asked me, there's 5 of us in this hallway, private hallway. Nobody's there. Grant's got his big bodyguard with him because he's 5'5". He's a little bitty dude. And he walks right, he beelines. He makes eye contact with me from 15 feet away, and he does not break eye. He's walking straight towards me. Like,
locked in.
Holy cow, what's this guy going to do? He put his finger at my face. He goes, why are you here? I said, I'm here to blow the lid off of my mindset of what's a lot of money. And I've made good money in the past being a mortgage broker. And I'm here to help pastors equip the business leaders in their church so they can grow their business, so they can in turn fund the kingdom and the vision of their pastor. And Grant said, okay, if you'll let me help you, I'll help you. I said, okay, I'll let you. And literally, dude, he walked in to speak to the main audience for an hour. The next hour, we had a private Q&A session. I was working on a $3 million commercial deal with a church pastor friend of mine in Norcross. Unlisted property. I found the building, 72-year-old Chinese guy who does not speak English.
Yeah.
I had to use his 22-year-old grad student daughter as their representation. The appraisal the week before I go, or 2 or 3 days before I go to this boot camp at Miami, which cost me another $4 or $5 grand with a grant, came in at $2.625 million. Ooh. We're $375,000 short. My deal's dead, bro. I've been doing this a lot. I've done 250, 300 million, and my deal's dead.
Dead in the water. My wife's a real estate broker. I'm telling you, she's coming to me right now. She's frustrated big time.
It's dead.
Deflated.
Yeah, it's dead. And I'm like, so I shared with Grant the deal in that Q&A, and he calls me. He still calls me preacher. He leans across the table. He goes, preacher, find a way to close the deal, because when your client sells the building, he'll get that $375,000 back. And I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna do it. And so I leave that day and I'm processing, and I'm like, okay, I got an idea. So I called my client that end of the day and I said, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm at this thing called 10X Boot Camp. This guy named Grant Cardone. He goes, oh, I love Grant Cardone. He's an African business guy, right, in Atlanta. And I said, I'm going to fly home on Monday. I land at 1. At 3 o'clock, we're going to meet the seller and his daughter. We're going to negotiate a seller held second for the $375 at the same bank rate on a 5-year balloon note. And then we're going to close it. And we did it. We closed it on Wednesday. I made $78,720. The last 8-9 weeks of 2019, I made $129,000 in 2 months after meeting Grant.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, you would have closed that deal on your own. I'm like, I probably would not have. Like, there's probably.
You were done.
I was like, I've done real estate like crazy. I know how to close deals, but I couldn't think at the level outside the box that I needed to think in order to pull that deal off. And I closed that deal.
Absolutely. Just like you said, Tony Robbins does. Grant was a master at raising your state, raising the standard, raising the elevation of what you felt was possible. Yeah. He just gave you the confidence to go and use your own, imaginations. I always said that sales is the greatest profession in the world, because all you got to do is use your imagination. Yeah. Okay. If you can think big enough and you can use the imagination that God's given you, then you can make deals work. And that's what's so cool about sales. So yeah, man, that's really neat, really. And I'm looking forward to the conference as well. Talk to me real quick. We're going to close on this. I know we're going a little bit over time, but I'm loving this. I could do it for a long time. About, everybody hears the cliche. Everybody hears the term becoming the best version of yourself, living to try to be the best version of yourself every day, keeping score. What was the level of your day? What was it? All of that. And really, and just being real talk, because I think that's what you and I are really good at, is real talk. Ain't a whole lot of bull crap. What does it mean to be the best version of yourself every day?
Yeah, I think it means to, number one, we say we live for an audience of one, and we do, because it really is about my relationship with Jesus and what God's done in my life. But it really is about surrounding yourself with a group of guys like that circle of guys we had in Charleston a couple of weeks ago. Like, if I did something, I'll share a story for what happened in that circle. One of the guys owns a private equity firm. And we're just walking around problems. Where are we at in business? Where are you stuck? He goes, you know what, I'm stuck. He goes, my partner is supposed to raise $40 million this year, and he's at $6 million, and we're halfway through the year or whatever it is. And so we're 30, and I'm like, that's a big deal. And he goes, and the more he talks, the more he goes, yeah, and he's my best friend, and man, it's just hard to have the conversation. So I looked at him and I said, hey, are you upset because your business partner didn't do what he was supposed to and raise the money he was supposed to? Or are you upset because he's your best friend and he didn't raise the money? He's like, well, probably because he's my best friend. And he goes, man, the conversation, it's just hard to have a conversation with him around that. And then I stopped him and I went, or are you upset with him? Or are you upset with yourself because you didn't have the guts to sit down and go, dude, I love you and we're tight and you're my boy. But this is what the agreement was, and you didn't live up to the agreement. What can I do to help you? How can I make this a win for both of us? Man, and he just looked at us and he goes, you're right, man. I'm frustrated at me.
Yeah.
And so I think to become the best version of yourself, you've got to have people that surround you, Red, that aren't afraid to speak into your life. Dude, listen, if I was doing something unscrupulous, or if I was married and I was running around on my dudes would call me out in 2 seconds. It's Proverbs 27:17. It's iron sharpening iron. Like, and I don't, you're 50, what, 2?
52.
So yeah, you're young. You're a young cat. But back in the day,
I just look young, guys.
Back in the day, they used to have these commercials for the Marines. And this commercial was this blacksmith beating on this piece of iron, sticks it in the fire and pulls it out and keeps beating on it. And you hear the guy's voice. He's talking about Marines, and this is what we do. And we, stormed the beaches of Normandy, and we did, but he's just beating this thing. And then he goes, the few, the proud. And then it switches to this Marine in these dress blues. I got goosebumps. Switches to these Marine, and he flips that sword up, and it's this perfectly polished sword. And you're like, dang, I want to be a Marine.
Dude,
come on. But that's the picture of iron sharpening iron.
Yes.
Like, it's fire. It's guys beating on you. It's guys holding you accountable. You said you were going to do this. You didn't do it.
Yeah.
Dude, tell me where you're at. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Which is why I do our mastermind. It's why I do our conference. It's why I do our online collective for entrepreneurs around the country. It's like, hey, you set a next 60 goal to sell X amount of books, and you're like not even halfway there. So did we set the goal too ridiculously high, or have you not been putting in the effort and taking massive action?
Yeah.
You have to have, and you got to surround yourself with people. So let me say this. I've got men in my life who their secondary concern is how my business is going and what I'm doing in GSD. Their primary concern is they love Ken.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
How's your heart? What's going on? How are you and Jesus doing? Like, if you're in a relationship, like, what does that look like? How are your girls doing? Like, they care about that first, but you've got to have the right people in your life, bro. And so becoming the best version of yourself, it's just why I put the framework together in our planner. It's why I did that. You can go to growstackdrive.com/planner. We'll put a link in it for you. Like, the planners are $29. It's 2 months. We make $3 a planner.
Right.
Like, dude, it's like nothing.
It's not a rev gen.
No, it is if you get in this planner and there's a QR code in the front, you watch my video, you use this planner for the next 6 days, it'll change your life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you'll form habits in your life that you thought, there's no way I can do this.
Yeah.
And it absolutely will help you on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself.
Brother, so good. And I'll finish with this that's the answer. Okay. I was a football coach. I was a high school football coach and a college football coach. And in that culture, men held each other accountable. Okay. You had a unit, you had a room. Okay. I had the O-line. Okay. My guy next to me, he had the D-line. This guy over here, he had the secondary. This guy over here coached wide receivers. This guy right here, running backs, quarterbacks. Okay. Linebackers, defensive ends. You had a room that you were responsible for, and those were your guys. And you held those guys accountable, and you were truthful to them. Okay. If you weren't cutting it at practice that day, you had to tell them the truth. Hey, buddy, you're not good enough. That effort you gave was horseshit, okay? You're better than that. We deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. Your mom and daddy, the name on the back of your jersey deserves better than that, and the name on the front of the jersey absolutely deserves better than that. And then guess what? I was held accountable to the head coach, which was Senator Tommy Tuberville, okay? When I coached at Auburn University, that culture, when combined with really good players and a lot of guys, you want to talk about chill bumps. I get chill bumps that buy in. That's what creates champions. That's what creates champions on and off the field. That's what I feel like has been such a difficult time for me to recreate that in business. Yeah. And I think everybody struggles with that. Yeah. How do you recreate that as an entrepreneur, as a small business? How do you create that culture in your relationships outside of your business, inside your home? Okay. And realistically, it comes back with iron sharpens iron. Let's be truthful with each other. If you love somebody, what do? You tell them the truth. If you truly love people, and I don't know why everybody hates it. They look at you like
I don't think everybody hates it, Red. Here's what I think.
There's a perception, though, right? Am I wrong? There's a perception that you're an asshole, right? Because you tell people the truth.
It can be, but the right people want that.
Yes.
So you just have to learn who's the people that I'm supposed to do. there's 3 spheres of relationship that I talk about in my new book: community, circle, corner. Community is that large group you travel with. For us, it's GSD. Back in the day, for me, it was 10X with Grant. Like you've got this massive group of people, same like-mindedness, same vision, same passion, same direction. We're going to charge this. We're going to do this together.
Yeah.
Then you've got your circle. Jesus had a circle, 10, 12 people you spend the most time with. Like those are the people, if you look around, who are the 10 or 12 people that I spend the most time with in my life? Who are they? And then look, I always try to be at the bottom of the 12. Like I don't want to be the smartest, the wealthiest. I sat around that circle with 9 guys. I was probably number 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I was probably number 7 or 8. Man, that circle was stacked.
Good circle.
And so then I can go. Now in the faith component, I probably was the number 1 guy. In the health component, maybe in the top 1 or 2, just because of my journey I've been in my relationship with Gary. And then in the relationship component, probably midway. But I mean, that circle that you have, so not one of the things I say too in that circle, you should evaluate that circle constantly.
Yeah.
Like who's in the circle? Like who are the people you're closest to? Dude, Jesus changed the world. Dude, he did ministry for 3 years and sacrificed his life.
Yep.
He didn't take 12, he took 11. Like one of them was a devil, right? Judas. He took 11 guys, and we're talking about it's 2024, almost 2025. He's still the most talked about man in the history of the world. He still has sold more books than the Bible, than anybody else in the history of the world. We're still talking because of 11 guys. Your circle matters that much. Corner, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, gals, depending on who you are, that have what I would say have a 10,000-foot view of your life. People that know you. People that, hey, Red, man, I slipped up. I watched porn last week. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How do we safeguard that for you?
Yeah.
Hey, Red, there's a secretary in my office, and she flirted with me, and I kind of flirted back with her. And you're a married dude. Like you've got to have those. I heard Craig Rochelle say this one time, Pastor's Life Church. I think it's the largest church in America. Craig was meeting with a group of pastors. We had dinner 2011, 2012, church planners, like 10 or 12 of us. And he said, guys, 2 things I walked away from that night I'll never forget. One was, you're only as sick as your secrets. You're only as sick as your secrets. Somebody needs to know what's going on in your life. Can't be everybody. Yeah. But you better have 1 or 2 dudes that know what's going on in your heart. Because the enemy, that secrecy and that moving away and that solitude, that's where he will destroy you.
Use it to make you think that's who you really are.
And it's not, because that's an identity deal. So that was one of the things that I learned from Craig that night was you're only as sick as your secret. So that corner is vital.
Yes.
Like you've got to have the right guys in that corner.
Community, circle, corner. Brother, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Guys, everybody needs to go check out Ken Joslin. Where do they find you at?
Best place is at Ken Joslin, KenJoslin on Instagram. DM me. I'm the only one that handles my social media account. It's me. People are like, what? You do that? I'm like, I do it all.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a difference maker, brother. I appreciate you being on here. Yeah. You're a good man. You're a good person. I love you. I appreciate you, okay?
We're going to do life together, bro. I'm excited.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro. Thanks.
Hey, everybody, tune back in next week. That's all from the Red Hot Read.